Eric, welcome to the Teach Music Online podcast. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again.
We chatted about a year ago, and I thought it's about time we get Eric back because so many teachers are interested in what you've created, which is Fons, your scheduling software and platform for teachers and for people everywhere running businesses, running services. And I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about teachers and how we can encourage them to be more professional, more engaged, more passionate about what they do. To get there, can you give those listening a little bit of a background about who you are and your story of really becoming a musician and coming into the teaching space?
Sure.
That's a lot.
Absolutely. No, I think I can do it really quickly. Yeah, I am a third generation music teacher. My grandfather taught music. I'm a concert classical guitar player is my background. And I got out of music school and I also went to business school, but I really loved the idea of teaching and I love the lifestyle of teaching. I'm a passionate student. I just love studying. I always have someone I'm working with. And so I decided to make that my life, which was teaching people how to play guitar and writing. And that it was a great path. And I loved it very much and had a very successful school here in Seattle that I ran. And a number of years ago, I had this opportunity to basically take the business model and build a software around it, and quickly learned that so many other types of businesses like us, like really impassioned, could be a personal trainer, an academic tutor, or a guitar teacher, have these pain points of being really professional and running really great businesses and making awesome livings. So I kind of just lucked out into a very sophisticated team of people who were really interested in the idea and kind of built our journey around it. So that's what I've been really focused on these last 5 years, which is really this mission has become elevating the profession, realizing that yeah, I have a huge value in my community as a guitar teacher. And I've seen these people grow up and become fabulously successful and well-balanced and adjusted adults. And that's great work. And our mission has become to give them the tools and also the encouragement to let them know that they're worth it. They deserve to make an awesome living, that their contribution is super valuable. And so that's kind of what brought us together as getting to know each other, because I know you're doing the same thing. I hope that wasn't too long, but hopefully encapsulates
No,
it.
that was great. That was great. I love this idea that we are trying to help professionals embrace being professional. And for music teachers, that's often the last thing they want to think about. They want to teach, they often want to perform, and the branding, the payments, the invoicing, the business side of things feels really hard. And that's one of my missions in Teach Music Online, is to make it easy and fun, to make building your business something that's enjoyable, because we get to learn all of these amazing skills that make us better and make us better people along the way. You have shared a story about how years ago, a friend of yours encouraged you to double your lesson rates, and that really shifted the future of your studio. Can you tell us a bit about that time in your life and what happened because of that event?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I had my studio in Seattle and it was doing very well. But we were starting a family and my wife was an actor and I was a musician. And I taught a lot of professionals at the time in the Seattle space and a lot of adults. And I was thinking about leaving the field. I was like, this is my time to go to law school. This is my time to get an MBA and kind of let this go because I have to get serious. And one of my students, who's also one of my mentors, who designed all these great buildings in Seattle, he's an architect. He was like, Branner, just double your rates. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And he's like, we all want you to keep teaching, just double your rates. And then so we can all keep having lessons with you. No one's going to care. And so I was really reluctant in doing this and I just did it. And not only did I double my rates, not only did no one care, in 6 weeks, I had a waiting list and I had a waiting list moving forward. And I never really found the glass ceiling for what I could charge for a lesson, because the more I charged, the better students I got. And, I think it's important now because I've told this story a lot and it's pretty much universally true, but it really helped that I had a nucleus of people that believed in me, that I had already proven that I really loved this, that I was talented at teaching and mentoring people. And I really believed in it. And, at that point, once you've done that and you've like put yourself into a community and given that impact and people will surround you, the people will seek you out. And the people that you're serving are professionals, and they're people that really value their time and your time, and they want you to thrive. And so that was a really, that was a very important moment in my life. It was when I realized, yes, oh my gosh, this is a real career. Because historically, when you look at the people that we've studied with, or where we went to school, our professors, there was that window where musicians just weren't really valued financially, right? And this was this kind of beginning of this shift where now we're seeing the knowledge industry has been expanding at such a rapid rate these past few years, this last decade, and continues to. So it was awesome.
There's so many good things in there. I love how you said when you did that, you never hit the ceiling of what you could charge, and the people that wanted you or could pay for you sought you out. They found you. Was that surprising to you when you first doubled your rates? Because I know a lot of teachers have so much fear around even raising their rates $20 a month.
Yes, which is not worth doing, right? I know. So I don't raise my rates on my clients. If you're my client, I'm not that confident of a person to say I have to raise my rates on you. I haven't done that since that first one a long time ago. I try to charge a really professional rate, and one of the things I do is I grandfather people in, because I'm not like one of those I'm super bold and going to raise my rates all the time type situations. But when I first did it and started making a great living and making six figures as a guitar teacher, I was so grateful that I became a way better guitar teacher. Suddenly I was paying my bills. We bought a house. I was raising my kids and spending time with them. And I was so grateful for that I'd found this way to make that living, that I poured twice the energy into all my students. And what does that do? When your students walk in and you're just so grateful to them, and their parents see that I'm a safe, trusted adult helping these teenage kids navigate a very difficult time of their life. And then word gets out that, Paul got a full ride to USC, and they, for whatever reason, they equate part of that to their having an experience to be with me. And it's one of those things where it's all positive. People will often say, well, that's really making you very exclusive to where people can't afford you. Not true. If someone comes to me, it's an awesome student, I don't charge them, or I can charge them very little because I'm charging other people enough. Like money doesn't become a barrier anymore. So you get to this point where even from a standpoint of equity, like this business model allows you to be more equitable in how you do your work, because you can have an open heart. You're paying your bill, you're eating well. So I feel like it's really hard to jump off and to make that switch. But once you do, everybody succeeds. And, so that's one of those things that's it's a great kind of axiom in our work.
Helping teachers get to that place where they feel confident raising their rates, or maybe they raise their rates first and they kind of grow into it. You've mentioned a couple of things they can do, one being building their business, being professional about their business, and then also being passionate about what they do as a studio owner. Can you expand on those two a little more?
What I see is people making the decision of really looking, at some point in their life, maybe they've been working at a studio or teaching at a studio for someone else. They look at their life and they're like, am I happy with what I'm doing? And we've all had teachers, I've had great teachers who were bitter, right? Because the world didn't come at them the way they thought it was going to. And they never did round that corner to charge more. And you decide, is that who I want to be? Or do I want to make this change? And for some people, it takes time and it takes focus, and there's baby steps. It's very difficult to wake up one morning and say, I value myself now 3 times what I did yesterday, and I'm going to throw it out in the world and just do it. But it is a mindset, right? And it's a mindset to say, am I loving spending this time with these people that I'm teaching? And if no, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. There's an easier way to make a living. But to then say, would I be happy if I were making $100,000 a year teaching these kids? Because you can go get a job making 6 figures. Anybody can do that, especially because we're all highly trained and we can figure stuff out. But at the end of the day, like, you're doing a job that you probably wouldn't like as much if you actually got it. Where if you can be really grateful for being like, oh my gosh, I am teaching people music and it is amazing and it's changing their lives and I am valuable. I think the step one is to shift that mindset, right? And to actually believe that you can do it and to find other people that have done it. talk to people like you that can give you a path to say, this is what you need to do to get there. And once that path starts happening, once you have really, I see people that get one client, they're not willing to raise their rates on their clients, but they're willing to raise their rate on their next client. So the next student you get, let's say you charge $40 a lesson. My next student's going to be $70 a lesson, right? And you can, try it and just see what happens. It's no big deal. And when you tell that new client it's going to be $70 or $100 a lesson, and you're so afraid, and they ask you how much your rate is, and you tell them, and then they just go, "Oh, okay." And you're like, "Oh my gosh, why didn't I say 110? Like, what was I thinking?" It always happens, in the last 5 years, because I'm still teaching 15, 20 students every week. I'm trying to pare it back, but I really do. I love doing it. And I had one person balk at my prices, and it was the CFO of a national insurance company. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, really? I have all the people that's going to balk at my prices. You're going to, like, school teachers, blue collar workers, they never balk. They say, 'Oh my gosh.' And then you have to say, 'Hey, can I maybe offer you a break? I appreciate you valuing my work, but I do have I have a special for folks if it would be helpful. I don't want it to be cost prohibitive.'" So it's a long answer, and there is a lot of passion behind it, but that's the deal. Is like, do you love it? Do you believe in the work? Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to go through the course and, like, set up your Google business or whatever you were talking about, and, make yourself a business and be professional and treat your clients professionally. And then you get to have the lifestyle you want. Right. And so that is, once you're doing that, once you picture who you want to be, I've always imagined myself being old, professorial, maybe having like a tweed coat and teaching really great students. Like, I want to do it forever. So that's how I feel about it.
I love it. That was such a great way to kind of sum up: when you're passionate, you are successful. And I think sometimes we go about it backwards, where we think we need to get these certain degrees or work with certain people or check off these certain boxes or build this beautiful website, or the list goes on of the things we think we need. And really, some of the most impactful and successful teachers that I know who are in the Teach Music Online program, they don't have any of that yet. They just are amazing teachers, and they are happy, likable people. And that's something that in the course in one of the very first lessons, I tell these teachers, like, guess what? You have to be likable. Like, we need to get you to a point where everyone loves your teaching and spending time with you and being with you. Not saying you're not, but as just a little bit of a wake-up call, if we have this demeanor where we're serious or kind of rude or too stingy in our lessons, that could be a reason why we're not attracting more students, or we can't charge the rates we want to charge.
Oh, that's amazing. Trying not to give people reasons to not want to pay you. Right.
Right, exactly.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And I love what you said. I love what you said about things you don't need. And that's the focus, is the second big thing to be able to make this work. What do you need to have, like, a really successful business and charge more? You need to be awesome, but you need to be focused in how you spend your time. You need clients that'll pay you. So how do you do that? You're in a community. You lean into the people you know already. You get that core group so you can be fabulous for them, and then they'll grow your business for you. I mean, you're so right. Most of our clients come from word of mouth. Most of it come from showing up at a talent show or showing up at a bar mitzvah or whatever. And then people being like, "Oh, you're Maddie's teacher. That's so cool." It's a long-term deal, but it's so much easier than just, like, running Google ads. Right. And it's more authentic.
Yeah, those things can come, and they have a place in every business. But first, it's building a place that people love and love to refer. I'm anxious to ask you. So I first connected with you, I'm just remembering this, in 2019. So it was before the pandemic, because I actually came across Fonz as I was building the Teach Music Online course and looking for software. But at that time, you weren't teaching online. And I had kind of told you, I work with online teachers. Maybe you had some experience with it, but I just want to hear from you. How has your mindset on online teaching shifted? Obviously, it's a huge shift. I know that. But what is your opinion of it now versus 2 years ago?
Oh my gosh. I was so not a fan. I was so like, come to my studio and, like, let's have some tea. And then the pandemic, my son got the flu 2 weeks before the pandemic hit. And I was like, oh, I'm going to teach online this week. So I kind of threw up a mic and I was like, I'll just try this so I can at least teach this week. I was like, this is pretty cool. Then the pandemic hit and I went online in one day, my whole studio. And I thought of you. And 3 weeks into it, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going back because, I'm in Seattle, traffic's terrible. And also like, I can get up close. I can get up in your business where I couldn't maybe comfortably hang out in my studio for. I have, of course, I miss hanging out with people, but I'm teaching all online now, and I'll have students come over and visit, but there's no traffic. And there, if you can't sell the online experience as a great, instructor, it's just because you don't want to. It's because you want to be seeing people in person. Because every parent that's like, oh, we want to be in person. I'm like, no, you really don't. Do you want to sit 30 minutes to drive here and 30 minutes to go back? I mean, you're welcome to, but do you really want to? So you were right. You were ahead of the game. I was absolutely shocked at how well it worked. I thought it was over for all of us for a minute. We changed because we had to. And then I've just loved it. I loved my students are mostly high school kids, and I can see them. I do not have time. I was maintaining 3 studios, right? And so I do not have time now. I'm running a tech company and it is a lot of work, and I'm teaching because I really love it. And it's kind of how I relax. And I really love these lineages of kids that I've gotten to know over the years, their brothers and sisters. I love it. So I'm a huge fan. I don't see myself going back.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so great. And I know everyone who listens will say he's actually telling the truth. You're not just saying that because you're on the Teach Music Online podcast. You actually did experience a complete shift. And as you mentioned, there are so many benefits. And I love also that you mentioned that if a teacher can't sell it, it's because they don't want to sell it, or they're struggling themselves with if they want to teach online or not, which is another discussion. But if you want to be online and you want to build a global studio or have students outside of your area, you 100% can now more than ever before.
Yeah. And that's not saying you can't get together once a month, or if you do groups, maybe you can do that thing, but you're not married to it. Right. And it's give us so much freedom. Right. And it is cool to say, I know this great teacher in Boston that is the perfect fit for your child. Because I know a ton of teachers and I love to refer. It's fun to say, oh, you want to see this person. I know they're in Boston, but who cares? It's online. Right. It really does open up a lot of opportunity.
So I've mentioned Fonz a few times, and I do want to talk about it because I have teachers in my community that are just making the switch and raving about it. Actually, one of our teachers, Richard, who is a fan, he told me, he's so great. He just said, Carly, I'm kicking myself for not making the switch sooner. He was like the king of doing his due diligence and researching everything. He researched trying to figure out how to automate through Cash, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, Stripe. I mean, he was trying to do it, and he probably asked every teacher in our community, and then he made the switch, and he's a huge fan. And so I actually saw something on your website that said your dream job shouldn't come with a catch. You can expend more on, nope, hold on. Yeah, that's what you said on your website. Your dream job shouldn't come with a catch, right? And so tell me a little bit more about the philosophy behind Fonz and what makes it unique compared to other payment processors.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And Richard is a champion. It's such a cool human, Yeah. We are a very long tail company, and that we knew it was going to take a long time to get this right. And we are massively focused on believing in this industry, and knowing that it's built around relationships. If I am your music teacher, you trust me, meaning we can have a different professional arrangement than you could if it was just like going to a grocery store or something. This is long-term, it's recurring. So we have really, and I went into this project when I started with this team, I knew everything. Like I was like, all I want to do is have Fonz, automate what I do, because I'm like one of the best studios in the country. And that team sat down with me in that first week and they're like, you're doing everything so inefficiently. And I fought that, and it was heartbreaking. It was like saying, I'll never teach online, right? And the data does not lie, is that there are pathways to say, yes, invoicing is not efficient, right? Especially if you're seeing them, these people over months and years. We trust each other. You automate those payments through one of, there's three kind of primary ways it can be done that's very fair, but and very efficient and totally automated, but just always getting paid on time when you're supposed to get paid on time is a huge benefit for you, because most firms we work with, when they come on, they have 15 to 20% late payments or not payment, whether they admit it or not. It happens. People go through divorces and don't pay. Like, for whatever reason, people carry more of a balance than they understand, and they spend much more time on admin than they will admit, right? And so the focus of Fonz is to say, we're going to streamline this admin down to almost nothing by creating a beautiful relationship. And if you look at it, it's really about respect for your client. Now that I have 2 kids, you have 3, I don't have time to open all my kids' activities invoices and remember to pay them. I want to pay Huck's basketball coach. I don't have time to open it. I forget to. And it's not out of disrespect, like so many piano teachers would think. It's out of being really overwhelmed as being a parent. So this is a two-way street where we're able to go in and we build this software around decreasing friction, automating cancellation policies, sending reminders, making sure payments are automated, maximizing the revenue you make so you don't have to talk about it when you're in your sessions, right? So money never comes up after that first conversation. This leads to more retention. It leads to better agreements with your students. Someone just told me the other day, it was so cool. They were talking about, they had a lesson and they witnessed the teacher. It was a kid. The teacher was talking to the parent at pickup about getting paid. And the kid was so bummed out because they had just had this awesome lesson. This was somebody who doesn't use Fonz. And the teacher was like, "You forgot to pay me." And the kid was like, it was such a buzzkill because like, here we are like having this great lesson. And then it ends in a 5-minute talk of the teacher awkwardly asking for money. And I thought we were like jamming. And I was like, oh, it's so cool that a kid brought this up in my studio that had moved over, saying, it's cool. We never have to talk about money. Right.
Yeah, you don't usually think about that from the perspective of the student. It could potentially be awkward for a student to know maybe their family is struggling financially, but they really value music lessons. And it's hard for the kid to know, my mom works an extra job so we can have music lessons, but to be, involved in that can be stressful.
Yeah. And I think we've really built the software with that in mind, which starting with My Studio. And then every time we hear an idea that we think, wow, this is fantastic, like David Cutler's book on how he does his subscription-based payment, or, all these different ideas, and we automate them with this always being motivated by this believing in our business, being like, oh my gosh, how many music teachers can we get over $100,000 a year? Or how many music teachers can we take from $35,000 a year to $70,000 a year? And it's life-changing, and we're able to prove it. And it's, it's just really, it's an exciting project. And the other piece is that we have learned so much from personal trainers, academic, since we're just business, right? We don't have a metronome in Fonz, and we never will. We want to take the money conversation out so you can be awesome, right? So I can just do my thing with my students. Is because of that, we can draw from other areas of expertise. Academic tutors, personal trainers are very goal-oriented. They know how to do reporting, and we bake that into this app. And I think that's the really special thing that we're doing, is automating these relationship-based businesses, taking money out of the conversation and just, optimizing on both sides, from the client and the provider. It's really cool.
It's a shift for music teachers to get out of the thinking that they have to first communicate payments, then communicate it every month, then follow up when there are missed payments. I'm all about helping teachers automate from the moment a student hears about you, they land on your website, they can be onboarded fully into your studio and set up payments without any touch points. And that for teachers is kind of like, but wait, but I need to do this and that and figure these things out. It's like, no, your time is too valuable and you are a professional business owner. You don't need to do those things anymore, because we have so many amazing tools like Fons, like website builders, where you can actually just integrate your Fons button directly on the page so they can set up their account with you without you having to do it for them.
This is a really interesting, I'm glad you said that, because this has been something that we're also seeing a lot of right now. Is that, so we're all kind of, in a way, we're boutique providers, right? And one of the things that we're seeing, which is really cool, is to say, okay, let's say you call me for for me to teach your child. Is we've also set up to where I can say, Carly, you seem like a great fit. We've had our meet and greet. You're already in the system. I can take, if you're uncomfortable, I can take your payment information right now, to where the value of, like, let's say you have a student that pays you $100 a week to teach them, and they're going to stay with you for 3 years. It's like there's a term in business called LTV, and every music teacher should understand it. Is that a great student will have an LTV somewhere between $3,000 and $7,000, right? Meaning, up front, I might make the decision to say, at Eric Branner School, I do everything for you. I get you on the phone, or you book through my website, through Fons, you book a meet and greet, and I spend 15, 20 minutes with you. We're a great fit. And I'm like, this is how I bill. I can set everything up for you. You don't have to do anything. And so we're seeing a lot of these providers now, once they get their feet on, they're saying, I'll do a little extra upfront, knowing that this long-term relationship, like, I want to feel like you're just being so taken care of. And so there's this great blend of where you can say, just go to my website and sign up and get in there and enter your payment information. Or you can also choose to say, if you're more comfortable, I'm going to give you this really bespoke experience up front. I'm going to take your payment information for you. This is how it'll work. You don't have to do anything. You'll get text reminders and the emails, but just show up and it'll all work. And what clients say is awesome, right? Because I don't tell half my students that I'm involved with Fonz, so I get good feedback from it. But the longer that I do it, I realize parents don't care, right? If you can make it simple for them and you can make it professional, because they're professionals too, they're just going to say, okay, right? So anything I can take away from my students having to do, I will actually do now, right? And I'm fine doing that up front, because then the relationship is set for years and I don't have to do anything else. In my admin time for my studio is like 5 minutes a week, and that's if I get somebody new, maybe I have to schedule a new appointment, but it runs itself, which is awesome.
Yes, and I can just imagine some of those listening going, 5 minutes a week? It's kind of a foreign idea to them, thinking they don't have to do that. Something else I'm really passionate about is time management and blocking out your time so that you're batching tasks at once. So we teach in TMO all about batching your lessons, batching your social media posts, so that you really only spend maybe 2 to 3 hours a week on your entire business. So the rest can be on your musical passions and your teaching and everything else in your life, like family. Thank you so much, Eric, for spending a little bit of time with me today. I am so excited to link Fonz for teachers in the show notes where they can learn more about it. And something, I wanted to mention about Fonz is I love so much your customer support and how, as you mentioned already, how customizable everything is. I just think it's a great way, teachers can dive in and really figure out how to customize their studio specifically. So thank you, Eric, so much for spending some time with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It was great to hang out with you.